An overdue comparison. Samsung is fielding a third generation of refining a metal and glass aesthetic, while HTC is making a bigger change this year, shaking up the design of their phones. What makes for a compelling consumer flagship? Can HTC generate more consumer awareness? It's time for a showdown. Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus versus HTC U11. Ooh, shiny. Kicking this off with design, HTC's shift is pretty aggressive. The U11 departs from the machined metal look of the 1 series in favor of this glass liquid look. In blue, it joins the short list of phones that I've actually been asked about while out in public. It's literally only been blue phones. This is a huge move for HTC, and with the exception of this seam, it's very well finished. But for how well this change has been delivered, there's just no besting the S8 design, a radical new display form factor, combined with the symmetrical front and back glass, and syncing the camera sensor. It's a stunning achievement. Samsung takes a win, but both phones are more than capable of turning heads. The spec sheet largely scores a tie between these two: chipset, RAM, storage, even similar lifestyle water resistance. Cutting edge at the top of the food chain, this is what we should expect from high-end hardware. Where Samsung might pull ahead for some are on the extras like a heart rate monitor and the iris scanner, a few more pieces to play with, but the core smartphone tech compares really well. However, the Galaxy does score a win for displays. We're still hoping Samsung will do a better job showing off what a taller screen can do. A cinema-wide video setting would be epic for this phone. Still, while we're going through the teething pains of supporting the shape, we know several companies will join Samsung and LG soon. Add to that the greater contrast in the better outdoor brightness mode, and Samsung will likely appeal to more consumers. HTC's LCD is more color accurate and compares well in terms of resolution, but it's a pretty normal Quad HD option, which shows off how much area we lose with a traditional 16:9 aspect ratio and front home fingerprint sensor. The story flips again on software. Samsung has a consistent track record of rebuilding nearly the entire user interface, including a few odd choices. Changing swipe directions on the app drawer. Is it a deal breaker? No, but why change it? Just to be different? Toggle auto brightness. Let's add an extra menu in the notification shade. Deal breaker? Not at all. But why complicate this step when you might need to activate it in direct sunlight? Add to that controls like EdgeSense, which work on top of the Android UI. It's one of the busiest overall software packages found on any phone. HTC, on the other hand, they used to be the king of software tweaking, but lately we've seen HTC skins back off from more intrusive changes. The U11 is another step in that direction with some tweaks to help customize, but this is much closer to stock Android. Both phones also deliver secondary software assistance, Samsung's Bixby, HTC Sense, yet neither has made much of an impact on my daily use. Google Assistant is difficult to unseat as it's integrated directly into the operating system. Maybe that's why HTC's approach is preferred, as it's designed to supplement Google Assistant. Samsung has somewhat overpromised on Bixby, dedicating a hardware button to the phone to try and supersede Google's offering, and has struggled to realize some of those promises for English-speaking communities. For the more streamlined approach, the phone which better gets out of the user's way, we're giving the software win to HTC. Similar hardware and leaner software, HTC also takes a win for performance. Lean and mean, the U11 has shown to be slightly more consistent in daily operation and multitasking situations. The S8 is certainly no slouch, but I have personally run into a few situations where the phone struggles to pull up a contact from a shortcut, or the camera halts a split second longer than usual. These individual moments stand out more than on less powerful phones, and I've faced fewer of these hangups on the U11. Looking at the optics, we have real camera reviews for both phones, and if you're curious how they compare, we'd highly recommend watching both reviews for a ton of real-world samples. To sum up here, both phones are terrific all-rounder shooters, focused on the basics, no dual cameras or other gimmicks. In general, Samsung stresses saturation and sharpening for auto shots, and HTC tends to veer more towards boosting brightness and exposures. Large apertures, big sensors, and big pixels. Both phones handle low-light situations well, though with a slight edge for Samsung, largely due to HTC's tendency to push shutter speed for brighter shots. Both produce high-quality UHD video, good hardware image stabilization. Samsung adds software stabilization to UHD, though it has introduced some performance issues and dropped frames on our S8 Plus. HTC instead finds an important niche in delivering 3D or ultra-high-quality audio recording, barely besting the mics in our Galaxy. However, overall, we're giving a slight lead to Samsung for including more complete and easier-to-use manual controls for folks wanting to tailor their photo and video exposures. The audio conversation also requires a bit of nuance. HTC takes the speaker win for using the earpiece and the bottom speaker for better clarity. But Samsung handily wins the headphone battle. The jack is built in, and it produces higher quality output than HTC's proprietary dongle, with true 32-bit support for high-quality audio files. Both phones come with very good earbuds. HTC's ear scanning is like living in the future, customizing the EQ of the phone to match your hearing. Samsung also has a scan, but it's not nearly as efficient. HTC's earbuds also deliver a combination of active and passive noise reduction, and it's satisfyingly effective for cleaning up the noise around you. Still, we have to echo our concerns about proprietary solutions. The S8 can use any headphones without hunting for an adapter, and HTC's USB-C solutions only work on HTC phones. I can move my Samsung earbuds from phone to laptop without issue. And looking at the batteries, for all this size, HTC takes a significant loss in our media streaming test. Both phones easily make it to dinner time, but the S8 Plus has more juice at the end of the day. Since you might need to top it off in the middle of the day under heavy use, we are happy to see how much faster HTC can recharge. The smaller capacity helps, but Samsung opted for an older version of quick charging. So let's wrap this up. Where's that leave us between the HTC U11 and the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus? We know we've probably frustrated some in our audience for comparing the U11 against the larger S8, but we did this by design. Held up next to each other, looking at the overall volume, they occupy a similar amount of space in your pocket. These are pretty big phones. A little bit shorter, noticeably wider. A major part of this comparison comes down to the evolving shape of cutting-edge phone manufacturing. HTC feels like one of the best polished examples of the 16:9 era. And Samsung's support for this taller display is still a bit raw, but it represents the future. It's like cars. Often the last year of one model is better or more reliable than the first year of a new model. There's so much to like about HTC's execution, the daily interactions with the phone. It offers such a clean experience with less distraction or customizing. Considering the price difference, that's a solid performance win for HTC. Yet personally, between these two, I find myself returning to the S8 Plus. Some of the twitches and lag drive me crazy. I use almost none of Samsung software, and while I prefer rear fingerprint sensors, I'm still cranky about Samsung's off-center placement. But when I plug in some cans, this just works, and it works better. So we need to hear from you. We're pretty confident that Samsung will easily win the sales number fight, but will this be the HTC to help rebuild the company's image? Will the U11 increase HTC mindshare? Drop us a comment down below this video. As always, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon for more comparisons like these. And make sure you check out our feature videos like the real camera and real audio reviews. For Pocket Now, I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell, some gadget guy on Twitter and Instagram, and I will catch you all on the next review.